Greetings, mortals! Welcome to another session of the Infernal Court in Musical Hell. I'm Diva, your judge, jury, executioner, and it's time once again for another episode of When Bad Things Happen to Good Source Material. I love a lot of musicals, but there are very few which I consider technically perfect. That is to say, everything about the way they are constructed, music, lyrics, book, characters, themes, the whole lot, are as close to flawless as human endeavor can make them. Such a musical is the 1975 juggernaut, A Chorus Line. A collaborative effort between director-choreographer Michael Bennett, the creative team, and even some of the original cast, Chorus Line's unflinchingly honest look into the lives of the nameless extras of the show business world is an extraordinary masterpiece of music, dance, drama, and emotional resonance, and it has all the acclaim it deserves. The Tony, the Pulitzer Prize, a record-breaking original run of 15 years and over 6,000 performances, making it the first of what we might call the institution musicals, the mega hits that entertain visitors to the Great White Way for years and even decades. It is a landmark show in every possible sense of the term, and it never ceases to impress me with its humor, heartbreak, and passion. So it was probably inevitable that the film version would be a huge disappointment. It took nearly a decade to get A Chorus Line on screen, mostly because producers couldn't find a director willing to tackle the project. Not many people wanted to risk the wrath of the show's fanbase for material that was judged extremely difficult, if not impossible, to translate to film. Even Bennett himself dropped out of the project when his ideas and demands for creative control were turned down. Finally, the movie came into the hands of Sir Richard Attenborough, who was already attached to one musical failure with his performance in Dr. Dolittle. But hey, surely he'd do better behind the camera, right?
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think if they should.
Yeah, what he said. Let's examine the case of A Chorus Line. As with the stage version, the movie opens at a cattle call for an unnamed Broadway show. Hundreds of dancers take their turns showing off their moves while snarking and having body issues and desperately praying for a lucky break.
God, I hope I get it. I hope I get it.
How many people does he need? How many people does he need? I hope I get it. I hope I get it.
Sin number 1, the music production in this movie isn't that good. The original orchestrations for A Chorus Line were very much a product of the 1970s, wah-wah guitars the whole lot, which may sound dated and cheesy to some, but I much prefer it to the synth and drum kit sound of this movie, which is just anemic and undistinguished. Tell me that doesn't sound like the soundtrack to a Jazzercise video. The singing is also an issue. I realize most of these cast members were hired for their dancing ability, except Audrey Landers. You can make a drinking game of the number of times she vanishes from the screen when something complicated is going on. But even still, a lot of the vocals are weak, and they're not helped by the tinny recording, and the transition from the spoken audio to the music track tends to be painfully obvious. It doesn't completely destroy the impact of the score, but it does lessen it considerably. And while we're here, why don't we move on to sin number 2, I Hope I Get It. I love this opening number for its urgency and the way it effectively throws the audience into the middle of the action. Qualities which are noticeably lacking from the film version.
Larry?
This sequence takes twice as long as it does on stage. I am not exaggerating, I counted. It doesn't help that the movie keeps cutting away from the primary action to show us a woman's frustrating cab ride to the theater. Believe me, we will have a lot more to say about this tendency later on. See, the cab contains Cassie, once and future dancer who is the ex-lover of Zach, the choreographer running the audition. Zach is played by Michael Douglas, a casting choice that I have to mark as sin number 3. Douglas is the only big-name actor in this movie, unless you're enough of a musical geek to recognize Terrence Mann as Larry the Dance Captain, and as such, he tends to pull focus every time he's on screen, which, as we'll discuss later, is detrimental to the story's overall theme. I also think it's something of a mistake to see Zach as much as we do. He's the one putting these kids through a very punishing physical and psychological process, and even for his remote, godlike role in the story, Douglas feels pretty callous. He doesn't even appear engaged until Val goes into her tits and ass number, because, hey, who wouldn't be interested in that?
Tits and ass can change your life. They sure changed mine. You're all looking at my tits now, aren't you?
But in general, Zach spends most of the movie chain-smoking and trying to push Cassie away when she shows up at the theater. In response, Cassie puts on her dance togs and demands to audition because, damn it,
I'm not going to be ignored.
Finally, after nearly a half hour of noodling around, we get to introducing the dancers who make it to the final callback. Among them, Sheila, the snarky older woman, Val, the snarky younger woman, Bobby, the snarky possibly gay man, Greg, the snarky definitely gay man, Connie, the token Asian, Richie, the token black, and Paul and Diana, the token Latinxes. Once everybody is assembled, Zach explains that they're going to be doing something different.
Build a spaceship, kill a chicken.
Marry a marshmallow.
Why this?
How you gonna keep 'em down on the farm?
Not exactly. Zach doesn't just want to see how well they dance, he wants to know something of their personalities and history. So he invites the dancers to tell him a little bit about themselves. Initially, they see this as another performing test and respond accordingly. The first to do so is Mike, who sings about his first dance classes with sin number 4, I Can Do That.
One morning sis won't go to dance class. I grabbed her shoes and tights and but my foot's too small, so I stuffed her shoes with extra socks. Run 7 blocks in nothing flat.
I get that Mike is supposed to be showing off in this scene, but this is obnoxiously spastic. It's like they took the Make 'em Laugh choreography and sucked all the funny out of it. It's almost a relief when the film cuts away to Cassie and her flashback about her life with Zach, which it insists on doing periodically throughout this process. Zach doesn't have any more luck getting authenticity out of Bobby, who delivers his monologue like he's gunning for the role of a serial killer in a police procedural.
Oh, and I was always thinking up these spectacular ways how to kill myself. But then I realized to commit suicide in Buffalo is redundant.
And when Sheila goes into a similar stand-up routine, he finally loses it.
God damn it, now can't anybody up there hear me? Just let your hair down. Can't you talk? All of you, just talk to me, to each other. Jesus Christ.
Gee, Zach, I don't know why these poor starving artists who see you as the only thing standing between them and finally getting off the unemployment line are having trouble relaxing. I mean, what's wrong with them? But somehow this does the trick and gets Sheila to open up with the seminal classic At the Ballet, which is filmed in a vaguely arty and not very interesting fashion.
Yes, everyone is beautiful at the ballet. I was pretty at the ballet.
Next, we move on to Cassie again, of course, who is down on her luck and wants to dance again and doesn't care if it's in the chorus, and it's finally time to discuss this movie's biggest sin, the way Cassie's subplot dominates the entire film. The basic strokes of Cassie's story: she's Zach's ex and a former star dancer who tried to make it in Hollywood and failed, and now she's going back to the one thing she knows how to do and loves more than anything else, is consistent with the stage production. But where on stage it's just one story told over the course of the evening, the movie makes it the main story above and beyond everybody else's. Several characters are cheated of their spotlight moments just so the movie can spend more time on Cassie angsting about her shared history with Zach. You know what I love about A Chorus Line more than anything else? It's a musical that celebrates the lives of ordinary people. It takes the nameless, faceless masses of the theater industry and gives them a voice and dignity. It's a musical that says you don't have to be a demon barber or a wicked witch or the stage mom from here to have a story to tell. You yourself are a wonderful, complex tapestry of comedy and tragedy and unique experiences. And that's not only true of you, but every single person in the background of your daily life. That is an extraordinary statement. No wonder it resonated with so many Broadway audiences for so long. This movie spits on that essential concept. It takes the people who were brought out of the background and shoves them right back there again so it can be the Cassie show. It doesn't want to tell us about the deepest dreams and darkest secrets of the every man and every woman, not when it can be the star-crossed romance between the great choreographer and the rare talent.
That's who I am.
No, you're not. You're special.
Zach, we're all special.
But some of us are more special than others. Back on stage, the conversation has turned to puberty and, more specifically,
Sex!
Which means that it's time for the gratuitous added for the film version song. Welcome to Sin Number 6, Surprise. The main problem with this song isn't its quality, though the lyrics do leave a lot to be desired.
Sweet, icicle hot, smooth as a lemon pie, sailing across the sky into the ocean.
If that metaphor were any more labored, it would be giving birth to triplets. No, the problem with Surprise is what it replaces, specifically an extended montage called Hello 12, Hello 13, Hello Love, which we get only a teasing glimpse of in the movie. It's a diverse sequence that goes through several characters and mood changes and is an excellent microcosm of the adolescent experience, all the joys and embarrassment and insecurity that discovering yourself can bring. This song is pitched on only one level, wow, sex rocks, and it gets kind of old quickly. Even Zach is looking bored with the whole thing before it's over.
First time we made love, it was a great big deal. I was too scared to feel nervous from trying.
I'm starting to regret asking everyone to tell me about themselves. And once again, this is a place where a lot of the characters who had feature sections in the montage get shafted. Connie and Judy's segments are reduced to only a few lines, and Don goes from telling a funny story about how he got his start by working as an exotic dancer to, well...
You know, I mean, what the hell? It's not a question of, you know what I mean? I'm a damn good waiter.
But the person who gets let down the most, ironically, is Richie, for whom this is supposed to be a big showcase piece. See, in the original play, Richie talks about being this big overachiever who did all the extracurricular crap in high school, got a scholarship and went to college as an education major, and then realized he didn't want to be a teacher. And then he freaked out because he realized all his educational experience hadn't prepared him in the slightest for real life. That's a lot more interesting than doing the generic sexy soulful black guy number. On the plus side, Diana's part of the montage, a solo called Nothing, gets left in, and she manages it reasonably well. When she's not trying to out Puerto Rico the Sharks in West Side Story, anyway.
And the kids yelled nothing. They called me nothing.
Throughout all this, Cassie keeps barging into the proceedings in various ways, culminating in her solo Let Me Dance for You, another inferior replacement, this time for The Music and the Mirror, which is punctuated by some more spastic choreography. Picture Bob Fosse trying to teach Zumba. That's what this scene feels like. Eventually, Zach gets fed up and capitulates, allowing Cassie to go downstairs and learn the next combination with the rest of the dancers. In the meantime, Paul comes upstairs to share what is widely regarded as one of the best monologues in music theater.
And well, these strange men would come and sit beside me and play with me, you know?
Look, Paul, this is too rough.
No, I mean, I knew it was gay. In school, they'd whistle at me in the halls and everything. But what really bothered me was I didn't know how to be a man.
Remember, this is 1975 we're talking about. A Chorus Line was one of the first musicals to not only feature gay characters, but to treat them as people rather than punchlines. Go check out this entire speech sometime. It's a landmark bit of drama and very moving in the right hands. Of course, in spite of all this angsty and semi-tragic past, I'm sure Paul is destined for a long and happy... Oh, naturally. So now everyone comes back on stage so they can do their audition piece 1. Zach's focus is on synchronization. He wants to see how well these guys can perform as a unified core. Cassie, being a former featured dancer, has issues with sticking out of the crowd at first, but she pulls it in and is able to do what Zach wants, which somehow makes him even more pissy.
Turn around, look at the routine. Is that what you really want?
Now, this is the one scene that the movie gets absolutely right. The focus on the fixed smiles and stark lighting emphasizes the unsettling quality of watching these individuals repress their individuality in order to meet the demands of the choreographer, and by extension, society in general. We had to go through a lot of crap to get it, but this movie did give us a saving grace. Alas, it doesn't last, as after Cassie and Zach have their big, "You left me! You neglected me first" argument, she walks away from the audition altogether so she can sing sin number 7, What I Did for Love.
Kiss today goodbye. The sweetness and the sorrow. Wish me luck the same to you.
It's hard to tell because the lyrics are so generalized, but this song isn't about romantic love. See, after Paul has his career-ending injury and hobbles out of the story, Zach asks the dancers what they will do when they can't dance anymore, something that, as they've just seen, can happen at any time and will happen before they get too much older. Diana, who incidentally is probably my favorite character in the original work, takes the viewpoint that no matter what, it will all be worth it.
I remember I used to stand outside the stage door and watch the girls come out and think, God, can anything like that ever happen to me? But now I meet somebody and they say, wow, you dance on Broadway? You got somewhere. You're something.
And that's when she leads off this song, eventually joined by the whole chorus. It's not about love in a generic sense, it's about doing what you love without regrets even though you know it can't last, because you have the passion for it, and that means more and lasts beyond whatever success or lack thereof you might have. It's a great moment on stage, but here it's just another torch ballad. And you guessed it, yet another opportunity for Cassie to steal everybody else's thunder. Seriously, Cassie, Madonna couldn't make that crap work, so what makes you think you can pull it off? But at long last, the moment of truth has arrived. Zach has selected his chorus.
So the following people, please step forward. Judy. Don. Connie. Maggie. Front line, thank you very much, I'm sorry.
Antichrist, what an asshole. Oh, and note, Cassie gets the job despite doing jack all over the course of the entire audition. Well, what's a showbiz story without a little blatant favoritism? And of course, a big glamorous finale. If you've never seen a chorus line on stage, which, seriously, it's been around for 40 years, so what are you waiting for? This movie is perhaps better than nothing. There are some parts that work, and even with the production problems and cuts, you do get to hear a fabulous score. But ultimately, it falls short of what makes the stage play such a powerful experience. It sacrifices the genuine human drama for tired backstage drama, and as such can only be a pale imitation of its source material. The more I see it, the more it frustrates me, which is why the Court of Musical Hell orders the following punishments. For the terribly synthesized score, we condemn orchestrator Gary Anderson to an eternity of elevator music. For replacing and otherwise mucking with some of the best musical moments in the show, screenwriter Arnold Schulman is condemned to always misplace his keys and glasses. Finally, for shoving her way into the forefront at every opportunity, we condemn the character of Cassie to get a job teaching high school theater to egotistical drama queens. So let it be recorded. This session of the Infernal Court in Musical Hell is now adjourned.